Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of NHL Daily Talk. My name is Iacob, and I'm your host here, and I'm joined by my other host, Kyle Waselinchuk. Say what's up to the fam.
Yo, what's good, guys? Yeah, we got a busy day ahead of us. We got a lot on the schedule for today, and I say at this point, let's just jump straight into it. Otherwise, we might be looking at like a 2 hour long episode today.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. So we're gonna start off with topics, followed by scores, schedules, goalies, and then everyone's favorite picks of the day. So Kyle's actually gonna say the first topic of today's video.
All right, well, we had a big trade in the NHL yesterday, and I did say that we'd speak about it, obviously, on our story, and that was the Artemi Panarin trade to the LA Kings, where obviously the Kings got Artemi Panarin at 50% retained, so that puts his contract at a 5.8 million for the Kings for this year, and then they did sign him to an extension for 2 years at $11 million a year. But the Rangers, in exchange for Panarin, received Liam Greentree, a conditional third-round pick, and a conditional fourth-round pick. And I want to pull up the conditions real quick because, to be honest, I forget exactly what they were off the top of my head. So, the conditions on the pick, which the conditional third, the better of LA or Dallas is 2020 third-round pick, upgrades to a second if LA wins a round. So, if the LA Kings win a round in the playoffs, that third round pick becomes a second, and then their conditional 2028 fourth round pick only applies if they do win 2 rounds. So they don't get that pick if they don't make it to the conference finals. But yeah,
Wow.
anyways, we're just gonna summarize this trade. So I mean, Iacob, I want your opinion first. I want to hear what you think about the trade, bro, and how it makes you feel.
I like it, bro. I really like it a lot, especially for Artemi Panarin. It's good for him that he wasn't gonna play any games for the Rangers, and the Rangers said that they're gonna keep him off, as a healthy scratch until someone picked him up. So it's good to see that the Kings stepped up and said, well, we want him, give it to us. And I do know that Panarin didn't want to go to a California team. That was one of
He
his
did.
wishes. His top two teams were Florida and Tampa, but both of them they couldn't come to an agreement. Then he said he really wanted to go to a team in California, and then he had a talk with both San Jose and Anaheim, which that didn't work out. And then the only last choice was the Los Angeles Kings. And Kyle does have something to mention about a team specifically in the Pacific that were about to get him, but they couldn't come with a good agreement, or Aaron didn't want to go. Who knows? Kyle, tell us.
Yeah, well, apparently the Seattle Kraken had a trade in place, or I'm not sure if they had a trade in place, but they did tell the Rangers and Artemi Panarin's camp that they would be willing to sign him to an extension that was at least 4 years by $14 million plus. And ultimately, Artemi Panarin wanted to go to a team in California, so that did not end up happening. But I mean, I think it would have been really interesting if he had ended up on the Seattle Kraken. And I mean, I have seen the Kraken did say that, potentially they might trade Matty Beniers if it means that they could get an elite player, but that was not today. So, yeah, ultimately we will see what happens. But, I mean, honestly, in my opinion, I think the trade is, very interesting. And, I mean, at least initially, I was surprised with the lack of return. I was expecting the Kings, or not the Kings, sorry, but the Rangers to, get more in a return for the Artemi Panarin. Like, Liam Greentree, yeah, he's a great prospect, but Liam Greentree, a second and a third, or a third and a fourth, I don't know. I personally still think that's, not a lot. And I think that the Kings really got the good end of the stick in this trade.
Yeah, I definitely think so too. And with that being said, we'll move on unless Kyle has something else to add to the Panarin trade.
Well, it's sort of to do with the trade, but he said Panarin did make a comment. He's like, yeah, if I didn't resign in LA, I might have just gone back to Russia, which, I mean, some people took it as a joke, but I don't know if he was joking, to be honest, with how interested he was. I mean, it seemed like he wanted to go to somewhere warm, somewhere where he, enjoy the beach or a warm climate. So,
Yeah,
no,
because he got tired because in Russia it's so cold that he got tired of it. But anyway,
same with New York.
we'll
New
move on to
York
the
and their
next trade,
snowfalls.
which
Yeah, well,
saw the Blues and the Devils make a trade. The Blues
mhm.
trade Nick Bjugstad to the New Jersey Devils in exchange for Thomas Bordelot and a conditional 2026 fourth round pick. And I did pull up the stats for both players. So this season for the St. Louis Blues, Nick Bjugstad In 35 games played, he has 6 goals and 1 assist for 7 points. And for the other hand, for Thomas Bordelot, I guess Thomas Bordelot is a very young player because he got drafted by the San Jose Sharks. Yeah, he got drafted by the San Jose Sharks, but mostly he spent a little bit of his time like bouncing up and down between teams. Then he went to the Utica Comets in the AHL, and that's where he played his season so far, which in 35 games he only has 8 points, and now he is currently projected to be on the Springfield Thunderbirds. So good trade. I personally think that maybe the Blues got themselves a prospect. Maybe they are fully trying to go on a somewhat of a rebuild by picking up these young guys. But yeah, it looks like this Bordelot guy is probably not going to play much NHL minutes unless St. Louis needs him badly. But it looks like he's reliable when it comes to both the NHL and the AHL. So we'll see how he does, but it's a good trade, and I feel like it's definitely one that St. Louis kind of needed a bit badly because Nick Bjugstad hasn't exactly been the player that the Blues expected for. So I'm glad that they got him out while they still could, and they got themselves someone that could help, could not help. We don't know. We'll see. We'll talk about that more when more down the line, like maybe before season ends. We won't know, but yeah, I just wanted to point that trade out because that was a trade that also happened yesterday.
Yeah, well, I want to put my take on it. I think the Devils get themselves a really good defensive centerman in Nick Bjugstad. And, I mean, I think Iacob, at least when you're looking at his game, I think you're looking too much at the offensive output. And, that's just not the kind of player that he is. And I think for Bordelot, who at this point I think is a fringe guy who might get a few games here and there, but like you said, not a full-time NHLer. And I mean, a fourth-round pick that, basically it's Bjugstad for a fourth, I think, because Bordelot is pretty much an AHL guy. But no, I think he's a really underrated player, and the Devils desperately need a bottom six center as they've been playing Luke Glendening, who statistically this season is one of the worst NHL players on the year. So they definitely needed a upgrade, and Nick Bjugstad is definitely an upgrade over one of the worst players in the league statistically this year. So I think good trade for the Devils, and I think getting assets for a player that wasn't going to re-sign with your team anyways for the Blues is good asset management. So I think it's a win-win for both teams.
Yeah, I think so too. And now we'll move on to the next news.
Yeah, which we're going to do injury news now. And I guess we should talk about, a guy that's returning to the lineup for his first game in a while, which I'll start with that one. And Pierre-Luc Dubois returned to the lineup for the Capitals today against the Predators. And he's playing his first game since November where he had to sustain an injury, and then it wasn't released. The injury news wasn't released until a few weeks after, but he ended up having to have surgery on his abdomen. I couldn't figure out exactly what type of surgery or exactly what it was. But yeah, he's returning to the lineup tonight for the Capitals, and spoiler alert, the games are underway, Iacob, and he did score a goal today.
Yes, I did see that. I saw that. So yeah, good to see him back. He is reliable when he does play, when he is healthy. He is reliable for Washington, and Washington desperately needs him. So it's good to see that he's back. And with that being
100%.
with that being said, we will move on to another injury replacement news, and that is that Seth Jarvis has replaced Braden Point in the Olympics as Point is out with an injury. Unfortunately, we thought that Point was going to come back. We thought that the injury wasn't too severe, but it looks like it is, and he will have to miss the entire Olympics, which means that Seth Jarvis gets the call up, and we did actually mention it on one of our last episodes that we thought that it was either going to be Hyman or Seth Jarvis, as both of them can fit Braden Point as well. But hey, kudos to Seth Jarvis. I guess the Canadians saw something in Seth Jarvis that they didn't see in Zach Hyman. That's why they took him. But yeah, as an Oilers fan, it kind of hurts a little bit not seeing Zach Hyman, but at the same time, you have to congratulate the guy who gets replaced. So yeah, congrats to Seth Jarvis, and I know you will make our country proud because he does do good when he is on Team Canada.
Well, he did compete for Canada as well at the Four Nations tournament, as I'm sure you do recall, and he wasn't bad at that tournament at all. He was kind of like the 13th, 14th guy, but I don't see how a guy like Seth Jarvis can make your team any worse. And in a bottom six role on that Team Canada team, I think he will be more than serviceable. And like Iacob said, I mean, I think we were personally hoping for Zach Hyman because, he's our guy. But I mean, I really don't think between Hyman or Jarvis that the Canadian team could have made a wrong choice. So, congrats to Team Canada as they get themselves an excellent player regardless. And I personally like Iacob. Do you like Seth Jarvis? Because I personally do.
I do. I have him on my fantasy team actually, and he does do me good. So I like him. He's good.
Yeah, no, he's a good choice. And yeah, I mean, with the Olympic break, because today is the last games that are scheduled before the Olympic break, where the players will travel overseas. So yeah, I don't know if he's playing today, but I guess we'll go over that when we're looking at the games.
We will. And yeah, good, like I mentioned, good. But we'll move on to the next injury topic, which is not really, it is an injury actually. So go ahead.
Well, it's more of like a nagging injury rather than an injury that just happened. But Jonathan Huberdeau, it was announced today that he will miss the remainder of the season after undergoing hip surgery, for something that's been bothering him for quite some time. And news is kind of vague on at this point as we don't know exactly how long it's been bothering him for or exactly what's been going on with him. But I wonder if that's attributed to him being, maybe not as good as some people might have expected this season. As Oh, I forgot to pull up his stat line, but I think it's 10 goals and 25 assists for 35 points in the 50 games he's played or so, thereabouts. But yeah, I mean, hopefully for Jonathan Huberdeau, speedy recovery, and, hopefully he'll come back in next year and put up 100 points or something for the Calgary Flames, and we'll see. But, well, I not actually, but
Oh,
I wish I,
figuratively.
I wish all players the best, regardless of what team they play for. And ultimately, even though he's on the Flames, I don't want to see him get hurt.
That is true. That is true. But yeah, we have to, figuratively speaking, we wish he got 100, but
Not
let's be
actually.
let's be realistic about this. But anyway, we will move on to the next news we have, which that saw a Caleb Jones, which I do believe he has played for the Edmonton Oilers, has he
Yep.
not?
He played for the Oilers like I think it was like 2018-19 through the 2021 season. And then I guess we traded him to the Blackhawks where he played with his brother Seth in Chicago.
But yeah, but former Ed Oiler and now Pittsburgh Penguin player Caleb Jones has been suspended for 20 games without pay because he violated the NHL/NHL Player Association performance enhancing substance program. So I guess what really we don't really know what exactly fully happened, but according to this, he took a drug that, elevated his performance and made him better. And when he got drug tested, unfortunately he failed. So he had to get suspended. But yeah, we don't exactly know why he did what he did, but I believe some players do it possibly, to come back from an injury quick. Some players do it because they feel like they're very underperforming. Some players, it's just there's a multiple different reasons why they could take what they take, but unfortunately, Caleb Jones got caught and now he's serving the 20-game suspension without being paid at all. So it's a big suffer to him because now he might not be able to support his family for the next month or so because he has to miss the next 20 games. So, yeah, we don't like when players, get suspended, but you have to realize you have to, have a brain and you have to think properly. You know that you're going to get caught. There's no way in doing it. Just just keep going with it. Just stay I mean, it is what it is, but yeah, we hope that, this is a good reminder to Caleb Jones that don't do anything you're gonna not get caught for because you're gonna get caught for a lot of things. And the NHL is very strict when it comes to drugs and performance enhancing drugs because we've noticed a lot of players, not only in hockey but other sports too, have been getting caught, with taking performance enhancing drugs, and it's a very common thing now. But let's be honest, to some players it does, but obviously to some players it doesn't affect them at all. So, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, Kyle, what's your take?
Well, I mean, I find it very funny because I was listening to you that entire time, and Jacob's like, "We don't know what happened," and I'm like, "I know exactly what happened." So I should have been the one who said this, and that's my bad. I should have, butt in earlier because, you just said a bunch of random nonsense.
So what did actually happen? Let's know.
Okay, so it was apparently he went to doctors who were like an outside source, like so not team doctors and whatnot, and they provided him with something to be able to help him recover from his injury a little bit faster. And unfortunately for Caleb Jones, he was unaware that what he was taking was prohibited by the NHL and would enhance his, performance. But ultimately, he said, and this is a statement from him, or at least, like, basically, it said he takes full responsibility for his actions, despite him being unaware. What he consumed was a prohibited substance at the time. You know, he said sorry to the organization and whatnot, and the Pittsburgh Penguins organization as a whole appreciates his transparency regarding the whole thing. And yeah, I mean, I also don't think, money's a huge problem, as he's been an NHL guy for a while and he doesn't make bad money by any means at all. But yeah, no, but apparently, yeah, he'll follow all NHLPA protocols related to his suspension, and he has the full support of the Penguins organizations, and they look forward to welcoming him back to the ice when he is cleared. So yeah, this is similar to the Aaron Ekblad situation at the end of last year, which I don't know if you remember that, Jakob.
I did, but that's why everyone in Edmonton calls him a cheater now, because he took Peds to take him back from an injury. But that I do want to mention, though, that now that we've gotten clear,
Mm-hmm.
that I just spoke, I guess, a bunch of nonsense about what actually happened. I do know that a lot of players, it's not a lot of athletes, they don't know what they consume. They go to a
Yeah,
doctor and they think, okay, a doctor is supposed to be reliable. He's supposed to help me. No, but some doctors, they give you something and then, you take it thinking, okay, it's gonna help me. A doctor took it, and then the
which it does
NHL,
help.
sometimes it helps, yeah, but NHL then says, "Oh, you can't take this because it's prohibited." And yeah, no, it's definitely. I've seen a lot of players, especially a lot of athletes, not just hockey players, but a lot of other athletes that they go to the doctor and they get prescribed something that they think is okay with their club, with their NHL, with everything, and then
Mm-hmm.
turns out it's not. So yeah,
Yeah.
just wanted to make that clear that we were at least he was honest about it. At least he said he was unaware about it and he'll take full responsibility and all that. So it's good to see that he takes it despite he didn't know, and a lot of players don't know. So yeah, we will move on.
Yeah. What's up? I'm recording my podcast.
All
Go ahead.
right, let's move on. The next topic that we have, before Kyle got rudely
Oh
interrupted, we
my
sat in
gosh.
silence for a couple seconds.
This
Uh,
dumbass.
I will talk about the Kyle, I want you to talk about the Sergei Bobrovsky and Nathan
Yeah.
McKinnon real quick.
Well, actually, I wasn't done with the Caleb Jones topic before I was rudely interrupted by my father.
I had to do something, bro. We just sat in silence for like a whole 20 seconds, and we were just like, "What do I do?"
I thought he heard us talking because my walls in my house are paper thin, so I thought he would, get the memo that we were recording the episode. Apparently, dinner is ready, and I will eat as soon as we are done recording this. So, but anyways, yeah, no, Jakob, regarding your thing about like doctors prescribing them stuff that will help them, and the truth is, it will help them, but I don't think these doctors take into account that these guys are professional athletes and that they're banned, as they're trying to help the person, and for the average person, it doesn't matter if you take it because you're not getting caught for anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, so I don't think they take that into account, and I think that's the issue. And unfortunately, the players should probably voice that, and they should be like, hey, I play in this league, blah blah blah. What are the regulations? Blah blah blah. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
on that note, we'll move on to the next topic, which. All right. Oh, here we go. Do you want to talk about the player milestones, or do you want to do the other thing first, Jakob? I think we should talk about the player milestones.
I think you should talk about the player milestones, and I'll talk about the other thing that happened.
Well, I think we both have stuff to say about that for sure. But
I
yeah,
think we
I'll let.
both do, yeah. But let's just talk about the player milestones because they're quick. There's not much to talk about. We just have to congratulate them, and then we move on.
All right. Well, Sergei Bobrovsky for the Florida Panthers has reached 450 career wins. So congrats to him. And he's been playing in the NHL for a long time. Obviously, two-time Cup winner. Ultimately has two Vesnas to his name. He's been an excellent goalie for a long time, and personally, I still think of him as a Columbus Blue Jacket at heart because that's the team that he had the most success with. Well, at least numbers wise, and for his career. But it's hard to discredit his success with the Florida Panthers as well, considering everything. But yeah, congrats to him, and hopefully for him, more wins to come.
Yeah, no, definitely. Congrats to him, and all the best in your future.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and the last milestone that we have to congratulate is Nathan McKinnon reached 700 career assists. So congrats to him, and we hope for many more. We hope that maybe you stay healthy for the next couple of years, and you get to that 1,000-mile mark.
I think he will. It's Nathan McKinnon after all. We know how good at hockey he is.
That is true. He does pass. He is a playmaker. He does pass the puck a lot. So.
He is also leading the league in goals, so don't forget that though. He might win himself his first Maurice Richard this year. Well, we will see. But I love to see new players reach the top, and he's been it's been Kucherov and McDavid at the top, so we'll see if it's finally his turn.
Hopefully, I hope so. But now, with that being said, we will move on to the more shocking news. I did not expect this when
Mm-hmm.
Kyle texted me going, "Oh my, bro, what?" So, Kevin McKenna, the top NHL prospect in this year's draft, has just been charged with felony, aggravated assault, misdemeanor, simple assault, and two summary offenses, which were also known as disorderly conduct and harassment. The police alleged that the incident occurred at a bar where McKenna was with his teammates after the outdoor game that Penn State
Mm-hmm.
had against Michigan State, which they ended up losing. But
Oh.
apparently we know that apparently the victim was harassing some of his teammates, and Gavin McKenna was not having it, so he punched him, and the guy suffered a broken jaw. So we did find out that he did get released on a $20,000 bail today, Wednesday, but
Mm-hmm.
he does have a preliminary hearing here on, I believe, the 11th of February at 8:30 a.m. to, because if he does get, convicted, if he is found guilty, he could face up to 20 years in prison. This is not a small crime. This is a very serious crime. And with his
Mm-hmm.
charges, he could face 20 years in prison.
Yeah, no, well, it sounds like, yeah, on top of his teammates getting harassed, it sounds like his mother was actually harassed by this, the victim. And obviously, I mean, McKenna thought at the time, I guess he was doing the right thing, but ultimately he used excessive force and ended up, causing this guy, severe bodily harm. And ultimately, I mean, it's hard to argue, but at the end of the day, I think he is guilty because I don't think that was, a fair response to the whole ordeal, but we'll see. And ultimately, we won't talk about this again beyond today, I don't think, until obviously we know what the result is.
We will find out here in a week, possibly. But yeah, it sucks to see that he had a big bright future ahead of him, but unfortunately, one little he thought that what he was, like Kyle said, he thought that what he was doing in the moment was the right thing, and
Mm-hmm.
he has to pay the consequences now. And uh, I did find out that the victim does have to get his jaw wired shut because
Yep.
apparently there was a it was the damage was severe. Like I believe there was also like a lawsuit that happened. It was
Yeah.
crazy. Like
Well,
Gavin McKenna, like he might have. I'm sorry to say this, but he might have destroyed his NHL future.
I wouldn't be sorry saying that because ultimately, Iacob, you weren't there and you weren't a part of that. And I
No,
don't know.
I
I
know.
think I don't. I heard his. Apparently, his teammates were trying to stop him from doing anything, but I guess he didn't listen. And yeah, I mean, it sucks because I don't know, Iacob. I don't know if you've seen, but I seen a couple comments online that were kind of funny. And like, if you guys haven't seen it, go take a look at like his Instagram page and his latest post, and you'll see what people are saying. Like they're like, "You're going to jail, bro," and then they're saying other stuff like that. But on top of that, someone said that he's purposely done this to himself to not get drafted by the Vancouver Canucks, which I thought was kind of funny. But
That's actually hilarious.
people are crazy online. But anywho, unless you have something else to add to this, Jakob, I say we move on to the scores from yesterday.
I do also want to mention something
Oh,
real quick,
yeah.
but I don't know if Kyle. It might just be a mean thing but I do know Kyle does this too because we are both athletes. But
Mm-hmm.
when you lose a game, when you lose a game, your mood changes, your emotion changes, you become you're more pissed, especially if you wanted to beat this Michigan State team, and you played in front of like at Beaver Stadium in front of the home crowd, and you wanted to win
Mhm.
this game. And I know that a lot of athletes, when they lose, they get very upset. I know when I got mad playing soccer, I used to go in the locker room and throw my cleats in the locker, and hopefully it didn't break anything. But I've done some bad stuff when I'm mad, but I don't know. I guess he was mad. He wanted to go to this bar and chill, and then the guy was saying bad stuff to his teammates and his mom, and it's something sparked. Maybe you could say that the loss could be a factor, because I know for a lot of us, if you lose, you become more upset. And if something triggers it, you're already upset that you lost. Now something else triggers it, and then it makes you even more upset, and it makes you do things without your control.
Yeah. Well, ultimately, though, at the end of the day, it is all his control, and he should have acted better. And yeah, I think we should move on now.
Yeah, I think we definitely should.
I mean, it's definitely a controversial topic in general, but that's not going to scare us away from stating our opinion. But
Yeah.
anywho, before we say something crazy, we're going to stop.
Yeah, we're gonna stop. All right, let's move on to the NHL games for today. And as always, we'll summarize it real quick, because we are currently at 26 minutes as we're speaking. So we will just briefly talk about some stuff. But I want you. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first today?
Sure, I'll go first. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be, quickly summarize it anyway, since I didn't actually watch any of the games yesterday, so I didn't see what actually happened. So it's ultimately, summarize the goal scorers, blah, 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 stats. Let's do it. All
Let's
right,
do
well, your
it.
first matchup from yesterday, it was the Boston Bruins who took on the Florida Panthers. And ultimately, in this game, the Florida Panthers ended up taking this one out in the shootout. And I actually did see one clip from this game, and that was your shootout winner, which, by the way, I will get to. But yeah, we'll go over your goal scorers first. The first period, Eetu Loisterainen for the Florida Panthers opens the scoring, 4 minutes and 22 seconds, and then Mikey Eyssimont for the Bruins ends up recording 2 goals for the Bruins in this first period, 5 minutes apart from each other. So he actually ties the game at 1, and then puts the Bruins up 2-1. But the Panthers obviously didn't go away. Into the second period, Juvis Balinskis records a power play goal, and that's his 5th. And I don't know, Iacob, ever since he signed that extension and we spoke about him that one time, I swear, this guy has gone off ever since. And I don't understand why, but it's kind of funny.
No, I think so. I think so. I think that's what happened.
But yeah, it's the Kyle Iacob effect, obviously. But yeah, then Matthew Tkachuk on the power play again ends up recording a goal for the Panthers, which that's his 3rd of the year now after returning from injury, and he puts the Panthers up 3-2. And then Anton Lundell at the end of the second period, shorthanded, puts the Panthers up 4-2. But at this point, the Panthers didn't go away, and ultimately the Bruins did not either. Mark Kastelik, just under halfway through the second period, or the third period, sorry, puts the Bruins at 4-3. So they need one more to tie this game, and since this game went to the shootout, it obviously does. And it's Casey Middlestat who scores on the power play for the Bruins and ties the game at 4. And then going into overtime, obviously you had no goal scorers, so this game was pushed to a shootout. And in the shootout, Brad Marchand against his former team records the shootout winner. And, it's got to feel pretty sweet for a guy like that who has been around the league for a long time. And once again, I think I'm mentioning this, Team Canada, Olympic player. So hopefully Brad can do that again at the Olympics for us.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. I think it's good to see that the Panthers won, and like we mentioned, Bobrovsky got the win. So yeah,
Yeah.
we will move on
Oh, I
to the
forgot to do
next.
goalie stats, Jakob.
That's okay. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Sorry, I'm getting a little too ahead of myself. My bad, everybody.
Yeah. I also I don't know why. It's something to do with the fact that we're doing this later or whatever, but I wasn't thinking about it. So your first star of the night was Brad Marchand, albeit he had no points. He had the overtime or the shootout winner, sorry. Then Anton Lundell's your second star of the night. He had the shorthanded goal along with 2 other assists. And then Mikey Eyssimont was your third star for the Bruins, who had the 2 goals in the first period. Then for your goaltending performances, last night was Jonas Korpisalo for the Bruins, who made 22 saves on 26 shots for an 846 save percentage. And then obviously Bobrovsky, who recorded his 450th win on it, made 25 saves on 29 shots and had a 862 save percentage. So congrats to the Panthers and Bobrovsky.
Yeah, all right. Moving on to the next game, and this saw another good performance from the Columbus Blue Jackets. Another shutout for the
Mm-hmm.
Columbus Blue Jackets. We just talked about their shutout on, I believe it was on, if I'm not mistaken, it was on Tuesday. They won 3-0 against the Devils. Then last night
Wow.
they won 4-0 against the against the Chicago Blackhawks. Excuse me. And the goal scorers slash performances, as always. Zach Werenski opens the scoring 1-0. Then Ivan Provorov makes it 2-0. Then Danton Heinen makes it 3-0. And then going in the third period with just 5 minutes left in the period, Sean Monahan scores an empty netter to make it 4-0. And with this performance, this is the Columbus Blue Jackets' 7th win. And fun fact of the day, if Kyle didn't know this, that under the new coach, the Columbus Blue Jackets are 10-1-0. Well, maybe they
Wow.
did need this new coach to spark up something in their team. But we will move on to the 3 stars of the game. Obviously, Jet Greaves was the first star, as he did have a 27, I believe. Yeah, it was a 21 shot shutout. Then it was Zach Werenski who got 1 goal, 1 point, and then it was Charlie Coyle who had 2 assists. And the goalie performances, like I mentioned for the Blue Jackets, it was Jet Greaves, allowed no goals on 21 shots for a 1.00 save percentage. And for the Chicago Blackhawks, unfortunately, it was Spencer Knight who allowed 3 goals on 19 shots for a 842 save percentage. And that is your final score. 4-0 for the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yeah, good win by the Blue Jackets. And by the way, Iacob, that was their 7th consecutive win now. And obviously, like you said, they're 10-1 in their last 11. And by the way, the Blue Jackets, with that win last night, they're only 2 points out of a playoff spot now, where they were at the bottom of the East when they signed their new coach. So, which I believe their new coach is Rick Bowness, but I could be wrong about that.
I
But
believe it is, yeah.
well, yeah, because they fired Dean Evison, so yeah, really good for them. And we'll see, maybe they push themselves into this playoff race, but time will tell, and they got to keep going if they want to make it. But anywho,
For
we'll
sure.
move on to your next game, which the next matchup we had the Montreal Canadiens visiting the Winnipeg Jets, and the Canadiens got the better of the Jets in this one, albeit the Jets did outshoot them 37-27, but that did not matter. The Habs won this one 5-1, and your goal scorers, we seen the Jets actually open the scoring 6 minutes into the first. It was on a Kyle Connor power play goal. Then 10 minutes later, Oliver Kapanen ties it for the Montreal Canadiens, and obviously they ran away with it after this. In the second period, just 5 minutes into the period, Josh Anderson puts the Habs up 2-1, and that would stand as the game winner. But the Habs weren't done. Lane Hudson ends up recording a goal and makes it 3-1 in favor of the Habs. And then in the third period, Brendan Gallagher on the power play scores to make it 4-1 halfway through the period. And then with the empty net, Philippe Deneau, shorthanded, scores an empty netter to make it 5-1. And we'll go over your 3 stars of the night, which first star, Samuel Montembeault had himself a nice game, so good for him. He had a 1 goals against average, which, he allowed 1 goal, makes sense. And he had a 973 save percentage. Then your second star of the night, Brendan Gallagher with a goal and 2 assists for 3 points, and Kyle Connor had a goal as your third star. I would like to point out that Josh Anderson also had himself a goal and 2 assists, albeit he wasn't a 3-star of the night. He still had himself a very good game. Obviously, you heard Montembeault's numbers already, so we will go over Connor Hellebuck it was last night, and he ended up allowing 4 goals on 26 shots, so he made 22 saves and had an 846 save percentage, and I think the Jets' season is slipping away from them. I mean, what do you think, Iacob? Do you think the Jets have a chance to make the playoffs with, how their team has been trending?
No, unfortunately not. It is. Their season is over. Like Kyle has mentioned, their season is over. I'm sorry, but they haven't been playing quite to expectations, and it's been showing. And now they're even deeper and deeper, and there's just no way with that. How many games are left, and how many teams are climbing up? They're fortunately
Mm-hmm.
slipping in. They unfortunately dug themselves in a hole way too deep to make a comeback return. But if Kyle is all done with that, I will move on to the next game.
Yeah, well, the Jets are at 52 points in the standings right now in the 56 games they play, and they're 11 points out of a spot right now. So, they're going to have to start winning games real quick. And if they don't, then no playoffs. Bye bye, Winnipeg.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the next game, which saw a crazy matchup between the Minnesota Wild and the Nashville Predators. The final score was actually 6-5 in favor of the Wild in overtime. The shot total was 43-35, also in favor of the Minnesota Wild. And we do have a notable player that did have a crazy game, but we'll talk about that later. But Matt Boldy opened the scoring to make it 1-0 in the first period. Then Matt Boldy, again, not even a minute after that on the power play, makes it 2-0. And Philip Forsberg on the power play makes it 2-1. Then Matt Boldy completes the hat trick in the first period with
Wow.
to make it 3-1. Then Steven Stamkos makes it 3-2 on a power play. Eric Holla makes it 3-3. By the way, this is all in the first period. There was 6 goals in the first period.
Wow.
Then Luke Evangelista makes it 4-3. Then Yakov Trenin makes it 4-4. Excuse me. Vladimir Tarasenko makes it 5-4. Roman Yossi makes it 5-5. And then we go into overtime where Jaron Spurgeon said enough's enough and scored the overtime winner. The 3 stars of the game. Quinn Hughes was the third star with 2 points. Jared Spurgeon was the second star with 1 point. And the first star of the game, who had a crazy night last night, Matt Boldy, who recorded himself 3 goals and 1 assist for 4 points, was the first star of the game.
Wow.
The goalie performances, real quick, if it'll load. Why are you doing this to me? I guess I meant to press box score and I accidentally pressed recap. So he started playing the video. So if you hear a little video, sorry guys. But for the I guess Jesper Wallstedt did not back up Philip Gustafsson last night. It was Cal Peterson. And but it was Gustafsson who allowed 5 goals on 35 shots for an 857 save percentage. And for the Nashville Predators, it was UC Saros who allowed 6 goals on 43 shots for an 860 save percentage. So slowly, we're seeing these teams, shoot the puck a bunch of times, and they're not afraid to shoot the puck. So that's why we're seeing these crazy numbers of like 43-35.
Yeah. Well, do you have anything else to add, Iacob, or are you done?
No, I have said everything I've said.
Man, I'm not gonna lie though, like this game was complete chaos, and yeah, like you said, the shot total's really high. And Iacob, I mean, I don't know. I just want your opinion again, real quick. I'm really liking what I've been seeing from the Predators as of late, and like, Stamkos, O'Reilly, Forsberg, those 3 guys have made this team exciting again, and I think they've got an identity now where they feel like no matter where they are in the standings at this point, especially with their year last year, I think they've kind of built an identity there where they're like, no matter what, we don't quit and we will play till the final buzzer and try our best to win this game. And I don't know, I've been enjoying what I've been seeing from them. That's been fun as of late.
Yeah, I have been enjoying it too, and we will see. We will continue to see how it turns out.
Yeah, I hope they actually make the playoffs at the end of the year. And in my opinion, I think the Sharks and the Ducks can wait another year. Because I want to see the Preds have another run at it, bro.
Me too.
But at the end of the day, now we're on to our next game. I don't know why I said at the end of the day, as if I had something else to say, but because I was done on that topic. But speaking of the Sharks, they're in our next matchup, which the Sharks visited the Colorado Avalanche, and unfortunately for them, they lost this game 4-2 and got outshot 42-25. So the shot totals kind of speak for themselves. And we'll go over your goal scorers first off, of course. The first goal didn't come until early in the second period on a goal by Artemi Panarin, and then Artemi Panarin actually doubles down, near the end of the period. And the Sharks don't get their first of the night until the third period when 43 seconds in the period, Timothy Liljegren records his first of the season. So good for him. And, at this point, the Sharks were in this game still. And then actually 3 minutes into the period, Philip Kurashev ties the game at 2. But ultimately, that was not enough. And at the 12-minute mark of the third period, Josh Manson records your game winner. And then Brock Nelson ices it with an empty netter. And yeah, the Avalanche ultimately outplayed them. They they had more shots on goal, one more faceoffs. So if you win a lot of faceoffs, you just get a lot of puck possession, which, the Sharks also had 23 giveaways, which is a lot for a single game. And against a team as talented as the Colorado Avalanche, you cannot be giving that many pucks up. We'll go over your goaltending performances. Askarov on 38 shots allowed 3 and had a 927, so excellent game, but it didn't mean much at the end of the day. And then for the Colorado Avalanche, Mackenzie Blackwood allowed 2 goals on 25 shots, so he made 23 saves and had a 920. And then I forgot about your 3 stars, so I'll go over those. Artemi Panarin with his two goals in the second period is your first star of the night. Manson with the game winner is your second star, and then Val Nichushkin with 3 assists is your third star of the night. And good win by the Avs, and this result does not surprise me whatsoever, to be honest.
No, it does not surprise me. And we'll move on to the next game. We saw the Utah Mammoth play the Detroit Red Wings in Utah, and the Utah Mammoth actually won this game 4-1. The goal scorers, real quick. Sean Dursey opened the scoring in the first with 57 seconds in the first period. Then Nick Schmaltz, who has been red hot as of late, makes it 2-0. And Dylan Gunter makes it 3-0. Dylan Larkin scores on the power play to make it 3-1. But unfortunately, the Red Wings did not have enough, and Clayton Keller scores the empty netter to make it 4-1. The 3 stars of the game was Karel Vejmelka was the first star, who allowed 1 goal and had 967 save percentage. And Nick Schmaltz was the second, who had 1 goal and 1 assist for 2 points. And then Dylan Gunter was the third star, who had himself 1 point. Utah actually won the season series between these two teams 2-0, and both games they played were 4-1. So they wanted to match their performance last time, and they did. John Gibson allowed 3 goals on 24 shots for a 875 save percentage. And like I mentioned, for the Utah Mammoth, it was Karel Vejmelka, who allowed 1 goal on 30 shots for a 967 save percentage.
Yeah, no, good game by the Mammoth, who ultimately ended up taking that one, and deservingly so. But we'll move on to your next matchup, which featured the Stars and the Blues again. Like I said yesterday, I don't know, Iacob, what it is with these two teams and playing each other ever since we started this podcast. Boy, this is like the 3rd or 4th matchup between these two teams now.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll talk about it again. And unfortunately for the St. Louis Blues, the Dallas Stars got the better of them again. And I mean, I'm not surprised with the result. And on that note, we'll go over your score, which the score was 5-4 in favor of the Dallas Stars. And yeah, we'll go over your goal scores because honestly, I didn't watch the game, so I don't really know exactly what happened. But Pavel Buchnevich started the scoring for the Blues and put them up 1-0, 7.5 minutes into the first. But Jason Robertson at the 11:30 mark of the first ties the game for the Stars. But before the end of the period, Jordan Kyrou, who's been having a bit of a down year, actually does, score in this game, and he puts the Blues up 2-1. Into the second period, this is where the Stars, kind of turned on the Jets a little bit, where Matt Duchene scored his 10th of the year on the power play, minute 55 seconds in to tie the game. Then Maverick Bourque, 2 minutes later, puts the Stars up on top, and Jamie Benn records a goal to make it 4-2 in favor of the Stars. But the Blues, once again, didn't go away. Jimmy Snuggerud scores at just past the halfway point of the third to put the Blues within 1. And then Alexei Toropchenko, with less than 5 minutes on the clock, ties the game. But Jamie Benn, with just 23 seconds left, puts in the dagger. And, I mean, that's got to hurt if you're a Blues fan and for the Blues because you were this close. But that close doesn't mean much at the end of the day when, you lose. And Jamie Benn is your first star of the night because obviously he had his 2 goals and he had an assist. Jason Robertson's your second star of the night with a goal and an assist. And Jimmy Snuggerud's your third star of the night with a goal and an assist as well. And the Dallas Stars did outshoot the Blues 28-18, and the goalie stats for both teams truthfully will not be great, but for the Blues it was Jordan Binnington who allowed 5 goals on 28 shots, so he made 23 saves and had an 821 save percentage, and he's had a really rough year. Like, this is not the Jordan Binnington we expected to see, as I'm sure you can agree with, Iacob.
No, I definitely agree.
And then for the Dallas Stars, it was Jake Ottinger, who allowed 4 goals on 18 shots and made 14 saves. I had a 778 on the night, but they did win. So, yeah, not great goaltending performances, but good win by the Stars, and they earned themselves 2 points in the standings.
All right, we will move on to the next game, which saw the Vegas Golden Knights play the Vancouver Canucks in Vegas. Vegas took this one 5-2. The shot total was 31-23 in favor of the Vegas Golden Knights, and Vegas Golden Knights have ended their 5-game skid, meaning they have ended their 5-game losing streak by beating the Vancouver Canucks. And the goal scorers, real quick. Jack Eichel opened the scoring 1-0, make it 1-0. Excuse me. Cole Reinhardt made it 2-0. Then Elias Pettersson, the defender, made it 2-1. Ivan Barbashev made it 3-1. Then Joseph made it 3-2. Then Dorofeyev made it 4-2, and then Alexander Holtz made it 5-2. And there is going to be two more meetings between these two teams on March 30th and April 7th. But the three stars of the game, Jack Eichel was the first star with 2 points. Barbashev was the second with 1 point. And Akira Schmid, who allowed 2 goals at a 913 save percentage, was the third star of the game. So I guess he had some crazy saves. But the goalie performances for Vancouver was Kevin Lankinen, who allowed 5 goals on 31 shots for 839 save percentage. And for the Vegas Golden Knights, obviously, like I mentioned, was Akira Schmid, who allowed 2 goals on 23 shots for a 913 save percentage. So yeah, that is your final score for this one.
Yeah, no, tough look for the Canucks as their skid continues. But moving on, and I mean, you did skip the Oilers game, Iacob, because that was the game that was on the schedule next after the Blues and the Stars. And I only know this, Iacob, because whenever we record the episodes now, I've taken off the favorite team thing temporarily while we're doing the episodes to make sure that we don't miss the game and say, our last matchup is, and then someone have to butt in and say, oh wait, we still have the game that happened as the first game of the day. So, anyways,
Okay. I still have it. I still have it on, but yeah, good thing that Kyle will do most of the Oilers talking. So whenever it's his turn, he'll say it.
well, it is my turn right now, and on that note, I will talk about the Oilers game. And oh brother, this is not the team that I thought we would be watching, and I'm like starting to get worried because unfortunately for us, like we're only a point ahead of the teams that are in the playoffs chasing us, Iacob. So our season is, after that Olympic break, because this was our last game prior to the break, will be on the line. But I'm assuming based off of what, I'm saying, I think you guys can gather that we lost this one. And we lost this game 4-3, and we outshot the Flames 39-25, but ultimately it did not matter. But we'll talk about your goal scorers. Jonathan Huberdeau in the first period, 3 minutes and 12 seconds in on the power play, scores the first of the game for the Flames. And he did play last night despite having hip surgery this morning. Yeah, he decided, that going into the Olympic break that he was going to have it for his, nagging injury. So good for him, and once again get better soon. But the Oilers weren't, going to go away. Leon Draisaitl on the power play, just 2 minutes later responds and ties the game at 1. But Matvei Grudin, near the end of the period, ends up scoring on the power play to make it 2-1 in favor of the Flames. And going into the second, Connor Zary scores to make it 3-1 for the Flames on a deflection. But then Leon Draisaitl, just before the end of the second period, scores again on the power play and drags the Oilers within 1. And then Kasperi Kapanen, 4 minutes into the period, scores to tie the game at 3. But after Kapanen scored, it was Ryan Lomberg for the Flames, and that is not the guy that I wanted to see score for the Flames, truthfully speaking. And unfortunately for us, that was your game winner. And I couldn't find it, and I'm trying to find the post still, but he did make a comment after the game yesterday. And I'm gonna
Oh, it was
quickly.
I know what it was. I know what it was. He told Tristan Jarry, he goes, I like having Swiss cheese on my pizza.
That's right. That's what it was. And I saw the post, but I couldn't re-find it, so I was like looking for it while I was talking about the game. But yeah, no, tough look for the Oilers, and man, we need the goalies need to step up, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Our goalies have been pretty bad. The defense has been even worse somehow, and with bad defensive coverage and goalies that aren't making the save that they should, it's what it is. And obviously, we expected better with Tristan Jarry coming in now, and I was thinking that our goaltending issues would be solved, but obviously they have not been as we just allowed another 4 goals, and yeah, it sucks. But I'm hoping that after that Olympic break, which I'm hoping we can enjoy, at least something to cheer about at the Olympics, but we'll see. And yeah, this game was, albeit I didn't actually see the game as I was at curling last night, but it's definitely a frustrating result to see pop up on your Instagram feed and to look at later on. But your first star of the night was Mackenzie Weegar, who had himself 2 assists. Draisaitl was your second star with his 2 goals, and then Devin Cooley is your third star of the night, who he did allow 3, but he had a 923 save percentage because of the amount of shots he faced, and he's had an excellent season, by the way. But Tristan Jarry, unfortunately, he allowed 4 goals on 25 shots and only 21 saves and an 840 save percentage, which I don't care how well your team is playing in front of you, that's not good enough, and we need better. And yeah, I'm not really happy with this game, but Flames win.
I do want to mention that Draisaitl will be the flag bearer for Team Germany at the Olympics, and I don't know what it is with the Oilers and out shooting their opponent yet still losing.
Yeah, it's been happening a lot lately, bro.
I guess, but we'll move on to the final game, which is the Seattle Kraken, and the Seattle Kraken are 1 point behind us now. In the playoff spot, they are third in the Pacific with 63, and we have 64. But they won 4-2 over the Los Angeles Kings, despite being outshot 27-23. Excuse me. I'm going ahead of myself. The goal scorers were Andrei Kuzmenko on the power play made it 1-0 for the Kings. Then Shane Wright made it 1-1. Adam Larson made it 2-1. Then Vince Dunn on the power play made it 3-1. Then Andrei Kuzmenko tried to put the team back in to make it 3-2, but unfortunately Shane Wright scored the power play goal to win the game. And Shane Wright was the first star with 2 points. Kuzmenko obviously was the second star with also 2 points, and then Frederick Goodrow was the third star of the game with also 2 points. And the goalie performances for Seattle, it was Joey Decourt who allowed 2 goals on 27 shots for a 926 save percentage. And for the LA Kings, it was Darcy Kemper who allowed 4 goals on 23 shots for an 826 save percentage. So good performance by the Seattle Kraken, and Edmonton fans got to look out because Seattle is slowly creeping up and going to possibly pass us soon if we don't keep it up.
Yeah, and the Kings are right there too. And as we know, they just acquired Artemi Panarin, and they're still a team that you have to look out for. And yeah, Iacob, like I said earlier, I'm not feeling super good right now about how the standings look and how our team has been doing as of late. But anyways, on that note, I guess.
Yeah, no. But obviously, if Kyle has
Oh,
nothing else to say, let's move on to the NHL. Oh, you're good. You're good.
oh, I don't know. You like lagged, so I had no idea what was going on. So that was really confusing at that little part right there. Sorry.
All right. We'll move on to the NHL schedule. Obviously, some games have
Oh
started,
yeah.
but unfortunately, we only have one game to predict for today. It's the game that starts in 6 minutes between Vegas and the Kings, I believe, or Vegas and
Yeah,
someone. I
you're
don't know.
right. It's LA and Vegas. All
Okay,
right.
yeah. So,
Well, I will need your help though, Jakob, for these games because I do not know what time these games started at. So you will have to say the time.
okay, I got you.
All right. Well, our first game on the schedule for today was the Pittsburgh Penguins visiting the Buffalo Sabres.
That was at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Mountain Time, and that was Arthur Shelovs against Alex Lyon.
Your second game on the schedule today was the New York Islanders visiting the New Jersey Devils, which I assume it is also at that 5 o'clock Mountain Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time.
That was Elias Sorokin against Jake Allen.
I believe our next matchup was also at that time frame, and you had the Carolina Hurricanes visiting the New York Rangers.
That was Brendan Bussey against Jonathan Quick.
All right. Then we have the Ottawa Senators who are visiting the Philadelphia Flyers, and that was probably at the same time frame as well.
Yep, and that was James Reimer against Dan Vladar.
And then for your final game, which I believe this is the last game that was at 5 o'clock as well, which I could be wrong. 5 o'clock Mountain Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Correct me if I'm wrong.
You're good.
Which it was the Nashville Predators visiting the Washington Capitals.
That was Justus Anunen against Logan Thompson.
All right. And then in the second to last matchup for the day, we had the Florida Panthers who were visiting the Tampa Bay Lightning.
That was Daniil Tarasov against Andrei Vasilevsky, and that was at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 5:30 p.m. Mountain Time.
All right, and our last game on the schedule for today, which is the only full Western Conference matchup, we have the LA Kings facing off against the Vegas Golden Knights, and that game will be at 8 o'clock Mountain Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Time.
That will be Anton Forsberg, as Darcy Kemper did play last night, against Aiden Hill. And
All
that
right.
is all the games for today, guys. Unfortunately, we have only one game to pick, and we did make our predictions yesterday. I do have it written right here. I put the
Oh,
Blues to beat the Stars, which unfortunately they did not, and Macklin Celebrini to get a goal, which unfortunately he did not. So I went 0
ooh.
for 2 yesterday. And Kyle, on the other hand, I believe also went 0 for 2 yesterday. He put the Preds to beat the Wild, which they unfortunately they did not, and he put a Cole Caulfield goal, which unfortunately that did not hit. So, yeah, very poor performance by both of us, and we will try to make it up today with the final game on the schedule. So, Kyle, go ahead and go first for today.
Well, I think the team that just acquired Artemi Panarin yesterday is going to win. So I predict the LA Kings to beat the Vegas Golden Knights. And I think we're going to see a. I want to choose a good one. I'm not going to go for a goal today. I think I'm going to go for a point, but I don't want to choose a first line forward. I'm going to choose. I'm going to do a repeat pick for I think the first time ever, Iacob. I'm going to do a Corey Perry point.
All right, because it did hit last time, so we'll see. But I will take the Vegas Golden Knights, on the other hand, to beat the LA Kings, and I am going to take. All right, I'm scratching my foot and it hurts. But anyway, I'm going to take a. Let's make a good decision based on the projected lineups. I want to see here real quick. I'm going to take a. We're going to see a Andrei Kuzmenko point today. I think if he bounced back, he scored one yesterday. He's gonna score today too. So that is your picks for today. Kyle took LA to win and Corey Perry point, and I took a Kuzmenko point, and I also took Vegas to win. So if you have nothing else, let's the question of the day, and then we will wrap it up.
All right. Well, I think for the question of the day, I think I want to ask an NHL related question. Well, not an NHL related question per se, but I want to ask an Olympic related question with it being so close now. Who do you guys think is going to win the Olympics this year? And who's going to get the gold, who's going to get the silver, and who's going to get the bronze? And Iacob, if you have your opinion on that, I would like to hear it, but if not, we can save that for tomorrow's episode.
I'm gonna save that for tomorrow's episode. I'm still deciding.
Yeah, it's a tough choice, and I do think that rosters are more or less finalized now, as I don't think we're going to see a lot of replacements. Unless an injury happens today, of course, we could still see something, but yeah, no, that is my question for the people, and leave a comment below, and don't forget to like the video, of course, if you do, and subscribe as well, because we appreciate all the feedback, which we haven't really gotten a lot of, but that's okay. We're doing it for fun, and if success comes along with it, so be it.
Yeah. With that being said, if nothing else, Kyle, go ahead and do the outro for today.
Yeah, well, actually, I wanted to talk about this weekend a little bit with what's coming on. Like, what do you got going on this weekend, Iacob?
I honestly do not know. I know that tomorrow I'm going to watch my little brother Anthony play his finals
Mm-hmm.
at the Tampa Bay Lightning Arena. And then Saturday, I do have soccer practice early in the morning. But other than that, and then just work. Then Sunday, I am going to work 9 to 6, and then I will come home on my Seahawks jersey and my Seahawks hat and support my Seattle Seahawks in the Super Bowl.
Oh yes, because the Super Bowl's this weekend as well. This is a big weekend, and the Olympics starting up because I believe the opening ceremony is on the weekend here for the Olympics.
I believe so. I believe so.
I'd have to look that up, but that sounds right because I do know that they want as many people to see it. But technically, I do know that the Olympics are already underway because I know that some of like the mixed doubles for curling is already happening. Which, speaking of curling, my weekend will consist of a curling bonspiel, and starting tomorrow, we got our first game tomorrow night, which I've been put on a random team with 3 other people that I don't know, and then I obviously have quite a few games. I'll have a game tomorrow night, 3 games on Saturday, and then if we do good, we'll be playing for a win on Sunday.
Yeah, and the opening ceremony is tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that.
I'll definitely try to catch it if I get a chance, but that should be good. And well, that's the opening ceremony for the Olympics tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are probably already there because Draisaitl's got to be there to be the flag bearer.
Exactly. So I think they are already there.
Probably. But yeah,
Well,
I
they
mean,
probably did because they played last night. They didn't play today, so they can make it tomorrow.
that's true. Well, anyways, Jakob, you ready to wrap this up, or do you have anything else to add?
I'm ready to wrap it up, and you guys will get our answer to who will win the Olympics for hockey tomorrow. We will give you that tomorrow, but we'll give you that, guys, tomorrow, not today.
All right. Well, on that note, guys, thank you for watching. Who's your friend that always watches the YouTube videos, Jakob? Let's shut him out again.
Danny Ramirez, please, guys, go follow his Instagram. I don't know what his Instagram is. I will probably post it in the bio. I will tell Kyle, who does the bio, to post it. But please go shout him. Please go follow him. You know, he's a good friend of mine, and he does watch our videos all the time. So shout out to him. Shout out to all my friends down at Weber Soccer. You know, they're amazing. Patrick Torres, Carlos De Jesus, Anthony De Jesus, Danny Ramirez. Leitinho, who actually me and Leitinho do have something in common. We do he does bet on games and he does text me and ask me what my preferences for the games are. So, you know, I help him with that because and you know, maybe these episodes can help him, you know, make better bets. But yeah, shout out to everybody who's been watching. And yeah, you know, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to keep going and I'm excited to watch the Olympics starting tomorrow.
Yeah, that'll be really fun. And yeah, last NHL recap for a couple weeks tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. But I'm gonna wrap it up now. So yes, of course, thanks for watching, guys. You know, make sure to leave a comment, subscribe, like I said before, and ultimately we will see you guys later. Peace out.
Peace out, everybody. And yes, the videos will still continue despite the NHL being a break. We will just recap the Olympic Games or something. We'll figure out something. But yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, have a good day, everybody. We'll see you guys again tomorrow with another episode. Peace out, everybody.
Peace out.